Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda.
Hare Krishna, my name is Labangalatika and I want to welcome you to my channel Bhagavad-gita. Here it is, because here it is, Bhagavad-gita as it is. We are reading the translation and commentary of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and we are now in the third chapter, Karma Yoga, and I'm reading text 19. Tasmada sakta satatang karyang karma samachara asakto yacharan karma paramapnoti purushaha. Therefore, without being attached to the fruits of activities, one should act as a matter of duty, for by working without attachment, one attains the supreme. And that's what we all want to do, isn't it? Purport: the Supreme is the personality of Godhead for the devotees and liberation for the impersonalist. A person, therefore, acting for Krishna or in Krishna consciousness, under proper guidance and without attachment to the result of the work, is certainly making progress toward the supreme goal of life. Arjuna is told that he should fight in the battle of Kurukshetra for the interest of Krishna, because Krishna wanted him to fight. To be a good man or a non-violent man is a personal attachment, but to act on behalf of the Supreme is to act without attachment for the result. That is perfect action of the highest degree, recommended by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. So we are speaking about Karma Yoga, and here Arjuna is advised to act without attachment to the result, to the fruit of activities. So this is a little mystical, because Karma Yoga sounds like karma is activities and the result of the activities, and how to regulate that under the yoga principle. But actually the ultimate goal is to not have this type of attachment at all. But not being attached to the fruit doesn't mean we stop acting. That is a somewhat logical conclusion that is nonetheless doesn't bring about the result we want. We saw that, of course, now it's ancient history, but I was almost there. In the 60s and 70s, young people all over the world came to the conclusion that they wanted to step out, drop out, give up the rat race of keeping it up with the Joneses. These are expressions that I think are correct, but I could be completely wrong. But the sense is there. We are seeing everyone working so hard, trying to fit in, trying to gain some results, and ultimately it looks very meaningless. I'm going to step out of this. And in the terms of the Bhagavad-gita, we will get there also, we speak about the three modes of material nature. This is chapter 14, so it'll be a while, but everything in this world can be described as belonging to a certain mode, and this driven, achieving, stressing mode, that's the mode of passion, to achieve. And a clear-sighted person will look at that and see, that's not what I want. And with a certain level of material security, as we had in the 60s and 70s, they might also dare to take the plunge of trying something alternative. The risk is, though, we have three modes of nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. And the mode of passion, we have just described it. The mode of goodness is this peaceful knowledge, duty, satisfaction, simplicity, humility, those very good qualities that don't have this motor of greed or fear or striving in that way. So if we drop out on that side, we can take up spiritual life. The risk is that we drop out on the other side, on the mode of ignorance, which is the laziness, darkness, distraction, where we leave our duties without taking up a positive position. So these young people, they wanted to start an alternative lifestyle, and we see that very many of them they had some problems. They maybe got stuck in drug addiction and these type of things, which belong on the mode of ignorance side. So when we want to drop out from this fruitive mentality of gaining, enjoying, striving, we want to have knowledge enough that we step out on the right side. We step out on the side that will take us up to a higher level of spiritual understanding. So that is the mode of goodness, and a big part of the mode of goodness is duty. We are not acting for our own desires or for our own gain or glorification, but that doesn't mean we give up acting. We will still act out of duty for the society, for Krishna, for showing an example to others. Yes, I just wanted to say that. Vedic rituals, like prescribed sacrifices, are performed for purification of impious activities that were performed in the field of sense gratification. But action in Krishna consciousness is transcendental to the reactions of good or evil work. A Krishna conscious person has no attachment for the result, but acts on behalf of Krishna alone. He engages in all kinds of activities, but is completely non-attached. So we see the example of Srila Prabhupada. He was sitting in Vrindavan, which is the holy place of Krishna, which has temples everywhere, devotees everywhere, a very peaceful, transcendental atmosphere. Unless you go into the shopping district or sit along sewage, there are some difficulties there also to our material eyes. But actually, it's Krishna's abode, and actually a pure devotee can very peacefully live there, worshipping Krishna, meditating on Krishna's name, and associating with Krishna's devotees. Prabhupada gave all of that up to follow his spiritual master's instruction to come here to the Western world to invite us to Vrindavan, to give us the opportunity to serve Krishna. And he did so many activities. He was alone. He was 69 years old. He landed in Boston. He managed to come to New York. And he didn't really have anything. He was sitting in a park. He was singing the Hare Krishna mantra with a pair of cymbals, hand cymbals, kartals. And the young people came to him, and he gave them everything. He gave them knowledge. He was speaking of the Bhagavad-gita. He cooked and offered the food to Krishna. He distributed prasadam. He engaged them in Krishna's service, and he gave them all the opportunity. He was never lazy. He didn't have a need for himself to do this, or it wasn't for his material gain or for his own glorification or anything. But he felt that this was his duty to his spiritual master to distribute Krishna consciousness, to make Krishna consciousness available. And that is, of course, an example that is not part of the material modes. It is part of devotional service. It's transcendental. But at the same time, duty follows us. But if we do that duty in satisfaction and love, then that will be a very good platform for our life, and especially for our spiritual life. I will read one more text. 20. Karmaneva hisang siddhim asthita janakadyaha lokasangrahamevapni sampashyan kartumarhasi. Kings, such as Janaka, attain perfection solely by performance of prescribed duties. Therefore, just for the sake of educating the people in general, you should perform your work. Purport. Kings like Janaka were all self-realized souls. Consequently, they had no obligation to perform the prescribed duties in the Vedas. Nonetheless, they performed all prescribed activities just to set examples for the people in general. Janaka was the father of Sita and father-in-law of Lord Sri Rama. Being a great devotee of the Lord, he was transcendentally situated, but because he was the king of Mithila, a subdivision of Bihar province in India, he had to teach his subjects how to perform prescribed duties. Lord Krishna and Arjuna, the Lord's eternal friend, had no need to fight in the battle of Kurukshetra, but they fought to teach people in general that violence is also necessary in a situation where good arguments fail. Before the battle of Kurukshetra, every effort was made to avoid the war, even by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but the other party was determined to fight. So for such a right cause, there is a necessity for fighting. Although one who is situated in Krishna consciousness may not have any interest in the world, he still works to teach the public how to live and how to act. Experienced persons in Krishna consciousness can act in such a way that others will follow, and this is explained in the following verse. So this chapter is discussing the principle of karma, of work, and this is one of the principles. We are in this material world, and even to just stay alive by putting food in our body, we need to do some work. So Krishna consciousness, it seems like a paradox, how we can be in this material world and then take to spiritual life. And then we sometimes end on one side of the other. Either we want to give up everything, or we want to be practical and not bother so much with this whole spiritual thing, because after all we're in the material world. But Krishna consciousness is the solution to that paradox. It is the opportunity to fully take to self-realization, to realize our spiritual identity by acting in Krishna consciousness. There's actually no other way around this dilemma. How can we be spiritual in the material world? Or how can we as spiritual beings exist in this material world? There is a practical way, and that practical way is Krishna consciousness. And for Arjuna's questions about this position of taking part in the fighting, Krishna has these answers. Most of us, we don't have to go on the battlefield and fight, but most of us, we have to do something. And the problem becomes, how can we do both? How can we be engaged in this life, in our duties and activities, and at the same time make spiritual advancement? So of course we don't all have Krishna driving our chariot telling us this is the right thing to do. So sometimes we have to adjust our situation also a little bit. I mean, we can't just do anything for Krishna. But mostly our honest duties, they can be performed as long as we are also fixed in the process of bhakti yoga. And that's actually the only thing that is really practical. It's not practical to sink into this material ocean and just accept the illusion that we are this body and take birth over and over again. It's also not practical to just decide I'm going to be spiritual and I'm going to put everything material aside, because we're still going to have to eat. So some activity will have to be there. So we want to dovetail our activities in Krishna consciousness in a practical way. And Arjuna here, he has Krishna as his guide and teacher. We may need to find a qualified teacher and guide, a spiritual master in this life, to find the perfect, balance in this case. But we can easily start immediately by studying the Bhagavad-gita, by starting meditation on the Hare Krishna mantra, and by finding the association of devotees, so we have like-minded company. And that is how Bhagavad-gita is a very practical thing, and it is accessible to us in this day and age. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for watching. We aim for updates every Tuesday and Friday. Please come back. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down there. We also have some links and information for you. And there is, of course, the subscribe button. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
I'm a Hare Krishna, and I approve this message. Subscribe.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama.